I I really just, and I'm not sure who wants to speak up at first, but and just go ahead and jump in. How do you guys feel about what happened last night? I think the support that you gave in talking to Matt Carlucci, he believes that that was so important. But why did you think it was important to speak up last night? And anyone, go ahead and hop in.
Just to start, I believe that, it's nice to hear about the future of the city from the people that will be here. And with us being a group of young professionals, we are going to frequent the area a lot more. So I think that for the council to see that you do have a group of young professionals who are thoughtful about the process and are kind of interested in like the groundwork behind like the planning for us in mind, I think that that just speaks to how important it is to a group of people. And I think that that kind of appealed to like the emotional side of some of the council members, and it just worked out.
Is there anything when you're looking at these plans and the development of parks along the riverfront in the areas that have been set aside for that, is there anything that is a concern that you think? Do you think that could be overlooked? What do you guys think of that? Anyone, it doesn't matter.
I'm happy to jump in, but I'd love to let others speak too. So I think what we're seeing right now is some incredible momentum around the idea of a vibrant downtown. And I think that's what millennials want to see in a city. And I think right now we're at an exciting moment because there's a lot of consensus around 3 destination parks downtown, on the site of the former landing, on Shipyards West, and at Met Park, which is a beloved park for many years, but has gone unmaintained. So I think that what's really exciting about this moment is that people have really seen the vision of what urban parks can do to revitalize our downtown. And we're seeing so much consensus from business leaders and leaders on the DAA and others, city council, that we really want to make these parks happen. It takes a lot to go from rendering to reality. And so now that we have consensus around these parks, we need to make sure it happens.
And I got to tell you, I've been in Jacksonville for 35 years. I've stood on those grounds, what we're talking about down there, for many years saying, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming. Nothing has happened. I mean, and it's just so many people are frustrated over that. Are you concerned that even though they're excited right now, they're glad you guys are speaking up, that nothing's going to happen?
I'll talk to that, Jim. I think that, concern is probably not the word that we would use, or at least I would use. I do think that the renderings of the parks and the park designs that have been chosen, especially for Riverfront Plaza, are very exciting. And I would certainly echo Stephanie's, comments about those 3 parcels being particularly important. So I wouldn't use the word concern, but what I do want to see happen, and I think we all want to see happen, is to see them properly funded in the coming years through mayoral budgets, through the council. And so that's what I was talking about last night to the council, is imploring them to make sure that there are big numbers in those bylines so that we do not go cheap on Riverfront Plaza. Because what we can look forward to in the next 10 years is to be able to walk from a great park at James Weldon Johnson, right from City Hall, down Laura Street to Riverfront Plaza, to a world-class destination park. But that won't happen if we don't put it in the budget. So that's what I'm mostly, I wouldn't say concerned, but I'm certainly, going to be reminding council members and the current mayor administration and the ones to come to make sure that happens.
What do you want to see happen first?
I want to see Riverfront Plaza. I want to see Riverfront Plaza become a world-class destination park. When I think about, the parks in Jacksonville that are on the riverfront that are the most, well attended and maintained, I'm thinking about Memorial Park in Riverside. I've lived near that park my whole life. It's a wonderful park. It probably brings in some of the most diverse crowds from all across Northeast Florida for a Sunday afternoon there. There's Frisbee, there's soccer, and that's a pretty passive space. What we could do with an active space that is well-funded and well-maintained at Riverfront Plaza, I think would do miles for Jacksonville, especially because it's at the very city center. So you have Bread and Board, you have the new Estrella Cocina, you have Laura Street Trio, all of that happening right there. I think that's the biggest return on investment for the city of Jacksonville.
And I think you make excellent points with the parks over there. And what we've seen in the past, and even with Met Park, and I'm just throwing this out there, I mean, the naysayer, I know that. it's deplorable right now when you walk over there. It has not been maintained, and they took down structures. Do you think they're going to be paying attention to you? And that's my concern on that. Like you talk about, they have to have the money there. But and Nancy, you might be able to address all of this. Is this something that you think that they will address and maintain? Once say Shad Khan starts his development over there, do you think they're still going to pay attention?
Well, I think the fact that there's a Four Seasons there will create an added urgency to maintain that area. So I think the answer is yes. Shame on the public for not stepping up when Metropolitan Park was going down. We talked with Mayor Payton, who was the last mayor to propose major riverfront improvements. And what he told us about when we talked with him, which was a little while ago, he said, at the time that we were talking about renovating Metropolitan Park and the kids' campus, he said there were no community groups that were really advocating for the downtown at that point. And that's what we're changing. We're changing the people who care, and it's more than any of us, right? This is bigger than us. It's happening across the country that urban areas, that young people are going to urban areas that, and these guys can talk about it, but we've seen and also just the design of urban parks has progressed so far. When you go to other cities and you see the creativity that we can employ, that also includes resiliency, it's so inspirational that I think that we're just in a different place now than we were before. And we need to change the narrative and change the way we approach our parks going forward.
And
If I can,
go right ahead.
just to speak on that question, we, as like from an amenity standpoint, we aren't really asking for like just a park that will not generate any sort of revenue or something that the city will continue to have to foot the bill for. We're asking for like a thoughtful planning and a comprehensive plan for the businesses that come. Like if you could think of the Atlantic Station in Atlanta, it is a giant green space that just has like food and shops and like fitness around it. And it's also built up off the ground. So as far as like water and things like that, it floods right through the bottom. So like just like careful planning with that in mind, because we still get our space and like the city will still get the revenue because the businesses will be there, and it is more attractive to have it in the city center because that's where most of the people are attracted to when you think of tourism in a city.
Jim,
Go
I'll
ahead.
just add one thing that we're big proponents of in this whole plan is connectivity. So part of why I think Met Park has failed and why, James Weldon Johnson needs to be activated to have people come is that it's not connected to much other green space. And so what's so attractive to this idea and this plan for me, at least, is the idea, again, of spending all day getting to explore on foot or on bike or rollerblading or on skateboards instead of having to park, do your one little isolated event or one little isolated restaurant downtown and then leave or have to drive and find parking again. I mean, people in Jacksonville are used to searching for parking at the beach forever to go and spend the day there because there are things to do. You can walk along the riverfront, you can go out to eat, you can go to events. We can create that same thing downtown. And I think that's what a lot of us are thirsting for.
I know a lot of people said, I'm not going near downtown anymore. I mean, we've heard that when the landing was open, they did not feel safe. They felt it just was not the place to be. Is that whole attitude beginning to change? Do you think you guys are changing that attitude? Because that was the big concern. And the landing says one reason, that's why that failed at its time, but it should have been there. Do you think that the city could handle that? Is that whole mindset beginning to change?
We know from like historical like movement data over the past 2 years, we've had an influx of residents in Duval County specifically. The attitude of the city would naturally change because we're getting people from larger areas, bigger cities who are kind of used to gravitating towards a downtown area. And downtown it's historically scary, But for some of the transplants and for people like myself who have lived in other cities, we kind of can see, like, you can see that it's really not that bad. It's just not activated. If you can think of like Charleston, downtown in the middle of like a Friday night is the most well-lit area. And it's probably the safest because you have a chain of bars, but you have parking decks, you have the local police, you have, I mean, it's lit, it's not an issue. So I think as far as like the attitude of the city, like they said, we're thirsting for an active downtown because we have the beach, we have Southside. Now we just need that last piece that would connect everything in the middle.
Which has always been, I think, what the city has been striving for too.
Yeah.
Is to get that done. They've always wanted that, but it's just always, it was right on the brink at times and then never happened. And it sounds to me like you guys are ready to make this happen.
We are ready to make this happen, Jim. I'm the mother of two small children, and I would like to be able to push my child on a swing by the river before she's too old to enjoy swinging. That is the urgency and the priority that we feel like this has. And I just wanted to add one thing to what Kristen said, which I think is so true. All major urban spaces have panhandling issues. All major urban spaces have sporadic crime. What makes downtown feel unsafe is when there's not people there. When it's empty and the only folks that are there, people may feel unsafe around. And so again, to the idea of, the parent demographic, the young parent demographic, I live in Murray Hill because I want to be close to downtown. I, as a millennial, prefer an urban environment where I can walk, bike, etc. And what we need and what parks can bring is families. The research shows that when people see women, people see children using a space, they feel that it's safer. And then guess what? More people come. And so that's why I think parks are such an important part of this. If we only put nightclubs downtown, is it going to feel safer? We want people using downtown spaces 365 days a year. And that means playgrounds, that means destination parks, that means sports fields, that means things that people can pick up and do and recreate every single day. We're not talking about the folks who drive downtown, park, work their 9-to-5 jobs, and then immediately leave. We're talking about bringing activity to downtown that is going to be people from all walks of life, people doing healthy, community-oriented activities. And that's what I think the value out of parks alongside these other developments really brings.
And we've seen that too with the river jams, right? Like Scott said last night, build it and they will come. No one was scared to come to listen to concerts downtown when that space was activated, right? I saw all kinds of people there. So it's definitely possible.
Plus they brought in some great sound and they're bringing in some good stuff. So people are going to go to that. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to reach millennials, what was the band that came last year that is just
Sugar
like
Ray.
Sugar Ray, exactly.
Yes.
That's
Sugar
like
Ray.
our key demographic.
It was
Yeah.
my favorite night. It was
That
so
was our
wonderful.
jam.
Well, that's
You
I'm 65 and I'm very familiar with Sugar Ray. So
Yeah.
it spreads along. So is there anything that you'd like to add? I think you guys make some excellent comments. Unfortunately, my story kind of only runs like 2 minutes at the most, but I'm going to see if we can post all of this online because I think you make excellent comments as you did last night. Is there anything that anybody would like to add?
I just want to say that last night was a super great step in the right direction. From speaking to Councilman Carlucci, this is a great step in conjunction with what the DIA is doing, and having the council support to even move it forward shows that Jacksonville is moving forward in the right direction. So that was super awesome, and we just want to thank them for that.
Very good. Excellent. Yeah. All right. And thank you all so much for doing this. And I wish my story could air much longer, but you know how news is. I do get a certain amount of time, but I want to get this out there, and I appreciate it. And please, in the future, if you have anything that you've got my number, that's what's on there on that text, feel free to call me. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. And I'm going to be there tonight too at that meeting at 5:30. So if you're there, great.
I'll
Thanks
see you
again.
there. Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Okay.
Bye.